Hi, I'm really pleased to welcome you to the Faces of Façades podcast. I'm Aaron Cedar, and to kick things off, we're welcomed by Robert Simcock as our first guest of 2026. So I'd like to say good morning to Robert. Great to see you, and how are you?
Morning, Aaron. Morning, everyone. Fantastic. Bit cold. Weather is in, snow's in tonight, or today. So trying to keep warm, but apart from that, fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, well, look, you've worked in facades on both sides of the fence with specialist contractors, and now in your current role as facade engineering director at Sir Robert McAlpine's. What I'd like to do is take this right back to the beginning and find out how you found your way into construction and into facades and what your early influences look like and the lessons that really shaped you.
Certainly, yeah. It's been a rocky ride, let's say, as everyone's career has been, ups and downs, and bit of luck involved here and there as well. So yeah, it'd be an interesting conversation, I hope.
Yeah, well, look, so why don't you tell us a little bit about how it all got started for you?
Certainly. Well, as per most people, you kind of fall into your career through a bit of luck rather than judgment. And I did my finished school, didn't quite know what to do, and went to go and do an OND and then a HND in construction management. There wasn't really any sort of thought about a career in construction at that point. It was just further education.
Mm,
And then I moved from the OND and HND in construction to doing a BSc Honours degree in Southampton, and
right.
jumped the queue a bit there and did 2 years of construction management there, and came out at the ripe old age of 22 in 1997
Mhm,
with reasonable qualifications, but still not knowing where I fitted in the industry. There
mhm,
wasn't really, I didn't know if I should be a QS or a site engineer. I had no idea. I had no guidance.
mm,
So I spent the summer holidays kind of figuring what to do. And what a light bulb moment came on, because it was quite tough in 1997 to get work as a graduate. And
mm,
a light bulb moment came on because what I realized what I did in my degree was, when it came to the final year to choose my dissertation, I looked at the lecturers and figured out one was very good at steel, one was very good
mm,
at concrete, and
mhm,
but what weren't they good at, so I could
mm,
try and get the dissertation through on a good mark, because I didn't quite know what they were marking.
mm,
And back then, 1997, the internet wasn't there yet. I think it was
sure.
invented, or it came out in 96. I was doing research on microfiches and sending off for books, and so I chose to do mine on curtain walling, and no one knew what curtain walling was. So I thought, great, I'll do it on curtain walling, and I sent off for books, and you fill in a request, and the book comes back. 3 months later, and I got a book on curtains, or I got a book on walling, and I eventually came across a book that was about curtain walling, quite a rarity, and it taught me a lot. And I used that as a lot of the basis for my dissertation, and I could expand upon it. And
Mm,
as a result, a really good mark in my dissertation.
mm,
So a light bulb moment came on during the summer holidays when I was applying for jobs. I didn't really know what I wanted to be.
mm,
Hang on a minute, I'll send out copies of my dissertation. So I did that, and eventually EAG, English Architectural Glazing in Suffolk.
mm,
There was a guy there who used to work for Schmidlin, who had gone to work there as a contract manager, who was quite a forward thinker. He had the European view of bringing in graduates,
mhm.
and he took a chance on me, saw my dissertation, read it, brought me in and gave me my first opportunity. So got in my car, and I was on the way to Suffolk. So yeah, that was my entry into the market at 22.
What was his name? Is he still in the industry?
No, Alistair Duffhart was his name. He he worked for Schmidlin as a buyer for about 8 years, and
Mm,
then joined EAG to be a contracts manager. It was a tough life in EAG. It was
mm.
he was there for about 2 or 3 years, and then decided to go into IT. So he currently runs his own IT business.
Oh, right.
Um,
Wow.
but it's a very successful IT business, but he's been out of the construction industry now for
Mm,
since probably 2000.
right. Okay. So then starting in EAG, more or less, I guess, as an apprentice and at the bottom and being mentored, what was your experience like and how did it progress from there?
Well, the great thing about joining the industry at that time in the world was most of the regulations and the guidance was coming from America. You know,
Mm.
we were really behind the ball. Europe was ahead of us, and America was way ahead of us. And UK were catching up. So CWCT had just about been formed by that point,
Mm.
and guidance was just about starting. But a lot of the guidance was American AAMA standards, and you know, it was system houses and starting to get guidance from CWCT. So it was a really great time to start in the industry, because it just felt you had more freedom, let's say, more lateral movement,
Right.
and as a result, the industry was guided by individuals that had quite a lot of knowledge, and I managed to surround myself by those people purely by luck, and started
Mm.
to, you know, start to absorb their knowledge. So I got dropped straight onto Blue Water Shopping Centre down in
Mm.
Dartford, and you know, I remember the first day sitting, you know, standing on that site in awe of, yeah, a university student going on to a major project. You know,
Mm.
with 20, 30 tower cranes in this gigantic working quarry. You know, it was a major project, and I got to be number 3 in command for EAG.
Mhm.
Prater and Calzip roofing on there, and EAG were doing lots of stick atrium glazing of the malls, and
Mm.
it was the biggest package that EAG had ever done at that point. You know, 10 million,
Mm.
and I grasped the opportunity from day one, just learning off people,
Mhm.
and you know, taking on responsibility. And that job really shaped me, because
Mm.
I took on the responsibility. I must have worked 7 days a week for a year and a half. Very rarely had a day off. And the reason behind that was I was just hungry to learn. And
Mm.
at weekends, the senior managers wanted the weekends with their families,
Mm.
as you do when you get more senior.
Mm.
I didn't have a family at that point, and I worked most Saturdays and Sundays. And at the weekend, I ran the site. You know, so a 22, 23-year-old running, you know, a major site. It was, for me, that was really empowering and really exciting.
Mm.
And I was allowed to make decisions, but I was also allowed to make mistakes. And those mistakes and that responsibility I got, you know, you live by the sword and you die by it, kind of thing.
Mm. Mm.
Um, I made decisions and I had to take responsibility for them. It really shaped my thinking into going forwards, you know, and
Mm.
I learned so much off those people.
I bet you did. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of thrown at the deep end, so to speak. Um, were you looking to move to London, or had you already moved down to the area at that time?
No, I was always in Manchester, and then I did my degree in Southampton, started to travel, never really went back to Manchester.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'd actually never treaded foot in central London ever.
Right.
So I still hadn't at that point. I went straight to Dartford, which, you know, is on the outskirts.
Mm.
So, you know, 1998, 99, I still hadn't treaded foot in central London, really.
Mm.
And it's only when I moved from AAG to my next business that I worked in central London at
Mm.
would have been 1999, 2000.
Mm. I mean, those early influences have obviously shaped the person that you are today. You're talking about America being the big influence on facades and curtain walling in the early days. I guess it was unitized wasn't something that was discussed that much on the London scene, maybe just starting out. And what spelling it with a Z or spelling it with an S, was that ever
Well,
a thing? Or
well, there was a bit of that. I mean, if you look back at 96, 97 sort of
mm,
time, um, there was some high rises in London, in
mm,
the outskirts,
mm,
but a lot of them were rim windows or patent glazing.
mm,
You know, NatWest Tower was up, that was
mhm,
unitized, and down at Canary Wharf,
mm,
the main Canary Wharf building was by the Canadians, Antimex, I think. That's still an amazing building.
mm,
That is, you know, a landmark building as I see it in the industry, because it's modern unitized construction in the UK. But we had to
mm,
go to Canada or America for that kind of
mm,
stuff.
mm,
And it's only in like the mid '90s onwards that the big Europeans started to really, you know, set foot in the UK. And you see the
mm,
Schmidlins, you see the Lindners, the Permasteleases sort of arrive. But it was really hard if you're a developer. Canary Wharf contractors really struggled in the late
Mm.
90s to get competition. They tried to go to America and Canada, but the cost was so high because they weren't really resonant in the UK.
Mm.
And they were stuck with, either Lindner, Permaslisa or Schmidlin. And
Yeah.
the choice back then was really limited. I mean, look at the
Mm.
choice you've got now. It's in 20, 25 years,
Mm.
the industry's completely changed. But back in late 90s, there was a handful of businesses you could really trust and go to build these tall
Mm.
buildings.
Mm.
Really interesting times.
Yeah, I mean, Canary Wharf, I guess, was seen as a little bit of a failure in the early days. They weren't really attracting the type of landlords that they thought they were going to get. But now look at it, it's developing even more and more as we speak. I mean,
Yeah.
so from your perspective, just moving that on slightly, what do people often misunderstand about the relationship between main contractors and the facade specialists?
So what's interesting here is that I've been a facade engineer now for 29 years, and of that 29, I've been a subcontractor for about 17, and I've been a main contractor for 12.
Mm-hmm.
So in my thought process, we all think we're 29 years old still. Well, I do.
Well,
Until I look in the mirror. But I still think of myself as a subcontractor because I've got 17 years. My first 17 years was shaped by being a subcontractor. So I still think a lot like a subcontractor. And I think that really helps me because a subcontractor's life is really hard, and I don't think some main contractors really understand how hard it is to be a subcontractor. These people have to create things. They have to start from virtually scratch. Yes, they get consultants sort of system designs, but they have to actually make it work, and they have to deal with 30, 40 different businesses, companies, individuals to get the gaskets, to get the extrusion, to get the machining, to get the glass, put it all together and take ownership of it and then warranty it and everything. And you can just miss buying one simple screw and the whole thing's, done. Main contractor's got a different view of risk and opportunity. And one of the failures of a main contractor is they just dump everything on a subcontractor and then completely trust them to deliver it, and that isn't really a collaborative approach. What I try and encourage is the subcontractor and main contractor really need to work really closely, because and interrogate the subcontractor. Now, some subcontractors don't like that, but it's not. Interrogate's probably a bit of a harsh word. It's trying to find weaknesses so that they don't forget to buy that screw. Because we're all human, and work together collaboratively to de-risk the process. And then, if they make money, I make money. If they have less risk, I have less risk. So that's a really important message. But subcontractors and main contractors have different agendas, and it's very dangerous to think they both have the same agenda. They have different agendas and they attack projects in different ways, and that needs to be carefully understood to make sure the right subcontractor is matched with the right main contractor for the right project. It's really important.
What do you think good collaboration really looks like then, when it's working really well?
Well, collaboration is a word that's bandied around quite freely, and really true collaboration is really hard to achieve, just because each business has their own agendas. But I've worked on a couple of jobs where true collaboration has come to the surface, and they are amazing projects. But what that to enable that to happen, barriers need to be broken down. The fighting for every last penny for profit or turnover has to put on the back burner somehow, and there are ways of doing that, because money is the root of all evil in terms of collaboration. So it's really important to get the right technical people together, get the right office environment, and then you can get some really good results from doing that. But it's basically having a common purpose and becoming one team, and then driving together in the same direction. And the problem with finance is that pulls that apart. So how you deal with the commercial aspect and how you deal with the technical aspect has to be carefully considered to make it truly collaborative.
Right. So, I mean, so you're looking to win a project as the main contractor. How early would you start to consider getting a facade contractor on board working with you on that?
It depends on the project, but generally speaking, on let's just talk about major projects. Earlier the better. You know, we're stage 2 for cost planning, and then really you need to start making your choices by stage 3.
Right.
Ideally, but the more simple the project, you can obviously leave it later. But when we're talking about complexity, and we're talking about not just technical complexity, but logistics complexity or groundworks complexity, earlier the better. And a lot of people are just saying earlier the better, but it really does make a difference in terms of collaboration, because at that point you're in a true partnership.
Sure.
If you leave it really late, it's probably because you're trying to breed competition and then bring the commercial aspects into it. We live in a commercial world, so you've got to consider that. But when you're dealing with major projects, you have to really get a partnership going, and to do that, you have to somehow strategize how the commercial aspect will work with that overall early engagement. It's really important.
So where do you see the major flaws then, where projects start to drift from both sides?
Well, one of the main issues historically has been risk. One person will assess risk differently than another. And some people don't even consider risks. They just get on with it and wait for it to hit them in the face. So one of the major things is understanding your risk. We're in a business of risk. We're always going to have to take risk. We're always going to have the unexpected hit us. That's construction. But one of the major considerations is understand your risk. And I think on the jobs where we've succeeded really well is we've seen the risk, we've identified it, we have control measures in place for it, and therefore the risk is managed. So the danger on these kind of large jobs is if you don't assess the risk, or you assess it poorly, or don't watch it, that risk will come and bite you. So we are watching the risk, and when something starts to go slightly adrift, you can do something about it straight away. You make a decision quickly to address it, and the risk goes away. So
right.
the reality is, as long as you manage those risks and don't let them fester, deal with them, they aren't really a risk. It goes away.
That's a good lesson for everybody, I think. It brings me on to something else I wanted to discuss. You mentioned Project 1, back in EAG, back in the days, where you were on site with the big shopping mall. Is there a project other than that you'd like to discuss, or moment that's really stayed with you?
Well, they all stay with you because of all the hard work and investment you put into them. Anyone that's worked on a project, it becomes part of your life, your blood. But I've been really lucky in my career. I worked with some fantastic individuals and some fantastic projects, and some really clever people that I've just learned from. One of the 4 or 5 standout jobs, but I've had to pick sort of 1 or 2. One of the most challenging projects I've ever done was Manchester Civil Justice Centre in Manchester, which was a job for Gartner that I ran. And that at the time, I think it was about 35 million. But if you tried to build it now, it would be double, triple that. And that had the largest glass atrium, double skin atrium in Europe at the time. Went a cable car engineer in to pull the trusses down to simulate the camber. That was unbelievable. We had 10 mobile cranes in every day. We had 25 mast climbers on the job. It was 200 people to manage just for installing the facade. That was really quite a crazy job.
How did it feel to be in the middle of all that?
We had that was super stressful. We had a gigantic plan of the site that I had made and laminated around a big battle table, and every day we marked with white markers where each mobile crane would go and each mast climber, and we had like 6 forklifts feeding the materials onto them, where the forklifts would go, where we'd load materials, and it was almost like drawing a battleground where you could fit a crane. You know, one day we had something like 15 mobile cranes in between to be able to bring materials to the forklifts and load the mast climbers. That really was a crazy job. And having a whiteboard, a whiteboard to place your cranes every day was quite, and you know, show the routes for the forklifts was a very stressful thing. That was our 7 o'clock battle meeting, you know, to figure out where everything went.
So do you think it was more challenging at that time than it would be now, as technology has improved and advanced?
There's no way we could do what we did then now. I think
Really? Wow.
I think you know, we were given freedom to as a subcontractor to deliver, and we had to do some extreme measures. We had to work some long hours. We had to you know, bring in a lot of people, and the reason why I say then to now is there's so much more. It's got so much harder now. You know, back in sort of early 2000s, subcontractor's life was hard, but you were trusted to do your QA/QC. You were trusted to do the method statements more. You know, there wasn't as much scrutiny, and at Gartner we did do that documentation very well. So, some people obviously didn't, but at Gartner on that job we did. We had the right people, and they trusted us for the right reasons. But one of the issues now is everything is scrutinized so much that everything slows down a little bit. So yes, we can achieve that, but not in the same time span, let's say, because everything will have to go through a checking process more and more now, compared to what we did then. So I think the process would probably, for such a complicated job, probably would be another 6 or 8 months longer.
Right. I mean, have those experiences changed your view on how leadership has evolved, or what good leadership looks like?
I think no, not really from my perspective, but the industry as a whole needed that change. You know, we've seen that from Grenfell and other problems in the industry. My philosophy has always been to resource the project correctly. So when I go back to that project we just talked about, you know, I think I had something like 9 facade managers in place just as a Gartner subcontractor, non-working managers, and they were Gartner employees. So I had you know, various site managers, but I also had QA/QC managers and health and safety managers, and they were employed by myself and managed by myself. So I had a team of, I don't know, 10 people in the office, and then the subcontractors had their non-working people. So we resourced the project properly, and that wouldn't change now. I think the only difference now is subcontractors are putting more emphasis onto the installers. So that team of say 10 now would probably be more like 4.
Right.
The subcontractors are taking more on, so they would get bigger.
Right. So there's a lot of trust that's being built down the lines from the main contractor through to the subcontractor through to the installers now. So there's more people involved at different stages.
Yeah, and you know, subcontractors have got better at what subcontractors. When we talk about installers, they've got a lot better at what they do. You know, you look at some of the businesses out there, such as Cornelius. You know, they're extremely slick. You know, they can now. Back in the late 90s, you know, it was the Schmidlins or the Gartners that provided the monorails and the equipment. You know, the manipulators, they actually had to make the manipulators, because at that point people like GGR didn't exist. You know, we had to make the manipulators ourselves. But the revolution there has come with more mini cranes and manipulators being available in the market, and subcontractors can now hire them. And their knowledge of temporary works and how monorails work, you know, subcontractors can now take that over from the main subcontractor and have that knowledge. So that's definitely been a change over the past 20 years. Is the main sort of principal subcontractor has empowered the installers more, and you know, there's a few businesses out there that do a very good job.
Yeah. I mean, we've discussed and we've touched upon how the industry has changed and evolved. Where do you see the industry now heading?
So it's interesting seeing the changes over the past 20 years. Like I said, we went from 3 main players, and now
Mm,
we've exploded in 20, 25 years to, take your pick of 15.
mm,
So choice has changed in subcontractors. The big change in the next 20 years, as I see it, is obviously the technology is rapidly increasing.
mhm,
How that will entwine into the construction industry, we'll have to see. But I've recently done a talk on AI and how that integrates into construction. And what's become very clear to me is, people like China are well ahead of where
mm,
we are, like
mm,
10 years ahead of where we are.
mm,
And AI is being used over there for um, to make it more simplistic in terms of doing building calculations or budgets and
mhm,
joining it all up.
mhm,
It's more intuitive. So someone
mhm,
who doesn't have to have a master's degree in computing can actually just talk to the bot, and it will find the data and do it for you. So I
mm,
think that's where AI will come in.
mm.
Will mean you don't have to be a tech engineer to be able to design things.
Right.
A normal person can talk to the intuitive bot,
Right.
and that will go into the data's there. It's not
Mm,
AI data. It's large data, but it's basically linked into BIM and AutoCAD. The data
right.
is there. It just needs to be filtered to make sure it's honest data, and then AI can find it and use it and make it more intuitive. So I think over the next 20 years, that will become more and more user friendly. And if you couple that with where the industry is going, the risk versus reward for a main
Yeah.
contractor is the model is broken.
Mm,
As
mm.
a subcontractor, the reward used to be there, but now they're being held to account more and more. Their costs have gone up. They have
Right.
to demonstrate compliance a lot more. Their costs have gone up, so a lot of those subcontractors are struggling unless they're in a niche market. So I think over the next 20 years, we're going to see that model have to evolve
Mhm.
because let's face it, to be in business, you have to make money,
Right.
but you want to do a good job as well. So I think the main contractor model, subcontractor model, will evolve over the next 20 years. I
Mm,
think this AI interface will play a role in that, and
mhm,
I think the PQS role will evolve with it
mhm,
because effectively this big data management and AI is really if from a PQS's point of view, they're going to be all over these
mm,
systems to do their jobs for them.
mm,
Eventually, the clients will figure that out and say,
mhm,
well, I'll just buy the AI model and update the software. Why do I need a PQS? So
mm,
I think the PQS model is going to evolve rapidly, and I
mm,
wouldn't be surprised if some PQSs are sort of moving heavily into AI and heavily
mm,
into sort of setting foot into maybe the contracting world a little bit more as well.
mm. So technology and the AI is really going to matter for the next generation, looking to break into construction and the facade world.
Yeah, I think it will do, but AI is useless without the data. So,
Mm,
what I'm seeing at the moment is quite a lot of system houses and subcontractors getting their data in order. So,
mm,
getting data sets to talk to each other. That's not AI. That's BIM modeling,
mm,
and AutoCAD structures. But I'm seeing people gather their data, so budgets or technical information or sectional details, and once that data is in piles and organized well, and it's already talking,
mm,
what the AI will do is make it a lot more easy to apply and to
mm,
find.
mm,
It's as simple as that. But I think if you link that into construction, all of a sudden you can link what a PQS does, what a
mm,
subcontractor does, and what a main
mm,
contractor does
mm.
through that data set. And I think not there yet, but over the next 20 years, I think we're going to see that those lines between those different stakeholders blurring a little bit, and people maybe going into different sectors a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I mean, is that going to be able to attract the skill sets and the talent into the industry more, or do you think it's going to be harder to attract people into the industry?
Well, I think we need to work harder on it. I look back at how I learned what I've learned, and I haven't learned it from doing, education. I've learned it from actual working and bumping into the right people at the right time,
Yeah.
and then having the desire to learn from them.
Mm,
And like I keep on saying, I've been so lucky throughout my career. I've
mm,
bumped into and learned off so many clever people.
mm,
Um, how can that be taught? So I know we have the CBCT do their MSc, which is an amazing, you know,
mm,
um, piece of education. But
mm,
what we are lacking is that's an MSc, that's top of the pile.
mm,
We need to be looking at maybe BTECs or ONDs,
mm.
sort of the entry level to get to the MSc. We're missing that at the moment.
Right.
Is that an educational piece, or is it more of um, could you do that more of like an apprenticeship?
Mm,
Because modern apprenticeships are not like the old apprenticeships used to be.
mhm,
You could take, you can almost you can almost say what I did was a
mm,
modern apprenticeship.
mm.
I learned
Absolutely. Mm,
on the job, and
mm,
I learned from it took me probably 10 years to learn what the MSc would tell me in 2 years. But I learnt it myself, and therefore I probably absorbed it more deeply into my brain, because
mm,
once you have to earn something and find something, it probably means something more to you. So
mm.
I think maybe the stepping stone isn't a BTEC or a OND in facades to get to the MSc. Maybe it's some form of modern apprenticeship that gets you into that
Sure.
process.
Yeah, an apprenticeship with good mentors.
Yeah,
You can't beat sort of real life experience and getting your hands a little bit dirty. There's only so much you can learn in the classroom, so to speak. You've
yeah,
got to
yeah.
get.
But to me, that I was really lucky. Like I said, this Alistair Duff Hart, back when I first started, had that
Mm,
foresight back in 1997. I was so lucky,
mm,
and we just need a few more people like that in the industry to bring people in and nurture them. And I think and surround them in knowledge, and they
mm,
will, as long as you get the right people that want to take responsibility and embrace it, that
mm.
they will learn pretty quick and be very good.
Okay. Well, look, I think we've covered quite a lot of topics in just over half an hour. So I'd like to finish it off with sort of more light-hearted questions, just some fast five questions, if that's okay. Um, we'll kick it off. Coffee or tea?
Tea,
Tea. Good man. Early start or late finish?
late finish.
Okay. Best advice you've ever been given? If you can sort of compact that down into a few words.
The old analogy: good shoes and a good bed.
I like that. How do you sort of properly switch off when you're not working?
So I learned the hard way. Being absorbed on these projects as a subcontractor, your phone is ringing off the hook
Mm,
24/7 because you've got
mm,
all these people coming in. So I literally turn my phone off, finish work, turn my phone off, turn it back
mm,
on. People have got my personal mobile as an emergency,
mm,
but you've just got to turn your phone off, turn off. And when you
mm.
turn back on in the morning, your eyes are a bit brighter, and you can get into work a lot better, and as a result, you perform better. So I have a bit of a rule there to turn everything off and turn it on at the end of a working day.
That's good advice. It's something I might look into doing myself. One thing you'd still like to learn,
It's endless,
right?
in facades. That's why I do it, because you're
Mm,
continually unsure of where you stand. You're continually learning. It's an
mm.
amazing job to have, because you never know where you sit.
Okay, look, Robert, I've really enjoyed this. Thanks for being so open. It's exactly why I wanted to start this podcast and the Faces of Facades. Really delve into the people of this industry. That's what it's all about.
Thank you, Aaron. It's been an honour to be invited in, especially to be the first person through the door. So thank you. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Great. Best wishes for the year.
Thank you. Cheers.